Have you ever watched a mother's dream collide head-on with a general manager's salary cap nightmare and wonder which one survives the impact? Because right now, in the fog of the San Francisco 49ers offseason, one of the most emotionally compelling storylines in the entire National Football League is being weaponized by the media machine to manufacture a trade fantasy that, underneath its beautiful, sentimental wrapping paper, conceals a financial catastrophe waiting to detonate inside the Santa Clara War Room. The doors to our intelligence center are locked. The spreadsheets are illuminated. The collective bargaining agreement rulebook is open to the exact pages that matter. And we are about to perform the most forensic, uncompromising audit of the Joey Bosa reunion narrative that this platform has ever witnessed. Because the difference between what feels right emotionally and what functions correctly mathematically is precisely the difference between hoisting a Lombardi trophy and watching February from your couch. Let us begin by giving full, unambiguous credit to the one voice in this entire conversation who has demonstrated genuine financial literacy, General Manager John Lynch himself. When Lynch stepped to the microphones this week and stated with a disarming smile that he knows this move would make Mama Bosa happy, but that he is genuinely uncertain whether the organization can afford Joey, he was not performing false modesty for cameras. He was not executing a negotiating bluff designed to suppress the market price. He was delivering a profound, inconvenient, mathematically precise truth that the media machine is desperately trying to bury underneath layers of sentimental narrative about family reunions and pass rush chemistry. The San Francisco 49ers are not a franchise operating with surplus financial flexibility. They are a championship-caliber organization walking a razor-thin tightrope, suspended directly above a salary cap abyss, managing enormous contractual commitments to core superstars simultaneously, while holding their collective breath in anticipation of the single most consequential financial event in the franchise's recent history, the Brock Purdy extension. Every dollar currently sitting in the available cap space column on John Lynch's spreadsheet is not discretionary money available for sentimental acquisitions. It is reserved, strategic currency allocated against the approaching financial tsunami that will reshape every roster decision the organization makes for the next 5 years. Now, we must pivot our analytical lens away from the spreadsheets and apply our most rigorous, unemotional evaluation to the actual football player currently available in the open market. Who exactly is the 2026 version of Joey Bosa? This is a question that separates disciplined corporate thinking from nostalgic fan fantasy, and the answer requires the courage to look directly at numbers that the Bosa family's most passionate supporters would prefer to ignore entirely. Joey Bosa turns 31 years old this July. In his most recent campaign with the Buffalo Bills, he operated on a one-year, $12.6 million contract, which itself tells a significant story about how the broader market evaluated his current production ceiling. The numbers from that season are not catastrophic, but they are not the numbers of a player commanding a premium investment from a cap-strapped championship contender. 5 sacks, 5 forced fumbles. A player who brings genuine intelligence, sophisticated technique, and legitimate veteran experience to the defensive line, but who has not recorded double-digit sacks since the 2021 season. For consecutive years without cracking 10 sacks is not a statistical blip caused by a single unfortunate injury. It is a data trend that represents the biological reality of an elite pass rusher entering the final chapter of his athletic prime. The medical dimension of this evaluation cannot be softened or minimized in the name of optimism. Joey Bosa's professional career has been repeatedly interrupted and fundamentally shaped by a series of significant injuries that have collectively prevented him from completing a full 17-game season with any consistency. When you are stewarding a franchise that has been systematically devastated by the injury epidemic over recent seasons, when championship windows have been slammed shut repeatedly by the cruel randomness of torn ligaments and broken bones at the most consequential moments of the calendar, the decision to deliberately introduce additional medical volatility into your roster construction carries consequences that extend far beyond the individual player. You are not just accepting risk on Joey Bosa. You are accepting risk on the structural integrity of your entire defensive system at the position of maximum importance. And yet, we must engage with equal intellectual honesty the genuine tactical crisis that makes this conversation exist in the first place. The San Francisco 49ers recorded just 20 total sacks as an entire team during the 2025 season. 20. As a franchise whose defensive identity was constructed around the suffocating, relentless, quarterback-hunting pressure generated by their front four, that number represents a complete and total systemic collapse. The absence of Nick Bosa for the majority of the campaign created a domino effect of destruction that exposed every vulnerability in the supporting cast simultaneously. A defense that cannot generate consistent quarterback pressure cannot win championships in the modern National Football League, regardless of how sophisticated the scheme or how talented the secondary. Pass rushers are the oxygen that keeps a championship defense breathing. This tactical reality is precisely what fuels the emotional appeal of the Bosa reunion concept, and we must acknowledge it honestly rather than dismissing the underlying need as manufactured media hysteria. The 49ers genuinely, urgently require a reliable edge presence opposite Nick Bosa, who can prevent opposing offensive coordinators from simply running their protection schemes away from the franchise cornerstone and neutralizing his impact through schematic avoidance. Joey Bosa, even in his current form, represents a legitimate, experienced, technically sophisticated option at a position where the available alternatives carry their own significant question marks. This brings us to the singular corporate mechanism that transforms an otherwise financially irresponsible transaction into something approaching legitimate executive wisdom: the incentive-laden contract structure. The only pathway through which John Lynch could rationally justify placing Joey Bosa inside the Santa Clara facility is through an absolute, ruthlessly constructed buy low scenario that completely inverts the traditional risk allocation between player and franchise. You do not hand Joey Bosa $12 million in guaranteed money based on his reputation, his family connection to your franchise cornerstone, or the romantic appeal of a brother reunion that would generate enormous social media engagement. You hand him a base salary approaching the veteran minimum with a structure overloaded on the back end with massive, escalating performance bonuses tied directly and specifically to production milestones. 5 sacks triggers one payment. 8 sacks triggers another, substantially larger payment. 10 sacks triggers a premium that makes the entire transaction retroactively justifiable from a cost efficiency standpoint. 12 sacks triggers a bonus so significant that both parties celebrate the outcome simultaneously. This contract architecture accomplishes something strategically brilliant and corporately sophisticated. It forces Joey Bosa to personally absorb the biological risk that his 31-year-old body presents. If the injuries that have haunted his recent career history return and prevent him from reaching production thresholds embedded in the contract, the San Francisco 49ers have paid almost nothing for the experience. If he defies the age curve, rediscovers the devastating athleticism that made him a generational talent in his prime, and generates the kind of consistent quarterback pressure that transforms the entire defensive ecosystem, then the franchise pays a premium price for premium production, and John Lynch gladly writes every check because the production has already validated the investment in real time on the field. This is not a compromise between financial discipline and emotional desire. This is the architecture of a genuinely sophisticated corporate solution that serves the interests of both parties simultaneously while protecting the franchise's long-term cap health. The key variable is whether Joey Bosa accepts the psychological reality of signing a contract that pays him far below his perceived market value on the front end in exchange for the opportunity to prove his worth and earn substantially more on the back end. His willingness to absorb that professional vulnerability reveals everything about his current priorities and his assessment of his own physical condition. The companion storyline surrounding Joe and Jennings deserves its own moment of precise analytical attention. The market for former 49er has not materialized with the speed or financial aggression that many observers predicted when he entered unrestricted free agency. And that market reality is itself a data point worth examining carefully. Jennings is a physical, possession-oriented receiver whose greatest professional value has always been his almost supernatural ability to manufacture critical conversions in the most pressurized moments of games. The third down mastery, the contested catch reliability, the willingness to absorb punishment over the middle of the field, these qualities defined his contributions to the San Francisco offensive system. The Tennessee Titans emerge as a destination that makes the most coherent, logical sense for this specific player profile. Head coach Robert Saleh brings an intimate, deeply personal understanding of exactly what Jennings does well and how to deploy him most effectively, having shared years inside the same San Francisco organizational structure. Tennessee is constructing a supporting cast around their second-year quarterback Cam Ward, a young signal caller who needs reliable, physical targets capable of winning contested situations and moving the chains consistently. Wandale Robinson provides a specific slot-based skill set, but the Titans' perimeter requires the kind of contested catch reliability and red zone presence that Jennings delivers naturally. It is a financially efficient marriage between an undervalued asset and a coaching staff uniquely positioned to maximize his specific contributions. The off-season is a theater of corporate brinkmanship where every public statement contains embedded strategic intent and every analytical projection represents a calculated attempt to discover genuine efficiency in a market saturated with noise. John Lynch's words carry weight, but they are also a negotiating position in a dynamic, constantly shifting market conversation. The Bosa brothers together in San Francisco remains a beautiful, emotionally resonant dream shared by an entire fan base and, most importantly, by a mother who has invested everything in watching her sons play the game they love. But the actual transaction that makes this dream real requires the kind of cutthroat, incentive-heavy contract architecture that prioritizes organizational financial health over sentimental narrative. The risk must be allocated correctly. The cap implications must be managed surgically, and the decision must be made with cold, clear eyes focused entirely on the geometric reality of what the specific version of Joey Bosa can actually deliver inside Chris Kukurek's defensive system in 2026, not on the legendary version who terrorized quarterbacks half a decade ago. Drop your completely unfiltered executive verdict in the comments section right now. Does the pattern of physical deterioration make the Joey Bosa reunion too biologically dangerous for a franchise as close to a championship? Or does the incentive-laden contract structure neutralize enough of the risk to make the gamble worth taking? Smash that like button with everything you have to force the algorithm to recognize that uncompromising, financially literate football analysis deserves the widest possible audience. Lock in your subscription immediately because every contract restructure, every market movement, and every calculated front office bluff leading up to the 2026 kickoff will be audited and dissected in this war room with the precision this fan base demands.